Hello, and thank you all so much for joining us today for this exciting episode of WINS, or Women in STEM. We are live at Mote Marine Laboratory and Aquarium in Sarasota, Florida. My name is Dr. Krystan Wilkinson, and I'm a scientist with the Chicago Zoological Society's Sarasota Dolphin Research Program. I also work with the Sharks and Rays Conservation Research Program at Mote. The WINS program is funded by Mote Scientific Foundation and is aimed at highlighting some awesome women scientists, technology experts, engineers, and mathematicians. Because when students see themselves represented in STEM, everyone wins. Today we're going to talk about dolphin communication and how scientists are using individual noises that the dolphins make to track these individuals over time. Now, to the human ear, dolphin and whale calls actually kind of sound like music. So do you have a favorite type of music? Let me know in the chat. All right, so I think some answers are coming in. Think about your favorite type of music. It could be jazz, rock and roll, maybe some hip hop, classical music, death metal, says someone, pop, that's a good one. Oh, 80s. I like the 80s too. I love me some jazz. Same with those other people out there as well. And some people like Broadway musicals. Those are all excellent. Country, rap. It sounds like we have a lot of music enthusiasts out there. Let's check in with my friend Ross to see if he has a favorite type of music and to see what ideas are stemming from his brain today. Hey, Ross, what are you doing? Ross, can you hear me? Hello, Ross.
Oh my gosh, Krystan, I'm so sorry. I was just jamming out to my favorite band. My favorite band is called Humpback Whale, and I'm listening to one of their classics, which is called Whale Calls. Oh my gosh, I am having a blast. They're just getting to my favorite part, the chorus. Oh, here it comes. It goes, I love this. Oh my gosh, rocking out.
That sounds like a really cool song, Ross. But you know, whales and dolphins aren't just singing so you and I can listen to them. They're actually communicating or talking to one another.
What? No, get out of here. They're just rocking on. There's no way these animals are talking to each other. They're just singing because they like music.
I'm serious. They are actually talking and telling each other things.
No way. I don't believe it at all. That's like saying they have names or something.
Exactly. They kind of do.
What? No. No. Get out of here. There is no way that an animal has a name. There's no way that they give themselves names. That's a people thing. I might give you that they might be communicating or singing is more than just sounding good, but there is no way that animals have names. In fact, I'm going to ask the audience because I don't think you know what you're talking about. So, audience, I'm going to turn this over to you. Who do you think is right, Krystan or me? Do you think that animals have names? Do you think they're able to give themselves their own names? So let me know in the chat, what do you think? Do you think animals are able to communicate and actually talk to each other and call each other by names they've been given? I don't know. I'm seeing a few people agree with Krystan, but I don't know. I'm not convinced.
Well, I agree with the people who agree with me, but just to be safe, let's talk to my friend Katie. She studies dolphin behavior, and I bet she would love to tell us all about the interesting world of dolphin communication. Hey, Katie, are you there?
Hi, Krystan.
Hey, Katie, can you help me out here? Ross doesn't believe me when I say that dolphins actually have individual sounds, and they kind of use these sounds like names. So can you help me out and try to convince him?
Of course, Krystan, you're totally right. They do. Bottlenose dolphins definitely can communicate with sounds that they use just like we use names.
What? Okay, I don't know about this. This is blowing my mind. So, Katie, who even are you? Like, you're talking about this like you're an authority on this on the topic or something. So, walk me through. What do you do? Who are you? Where do you work? What does an average day look like for someone who knows so much about dolphins, apparently?
Well, Ross, like I said, my name's Katie, and I am a staff scientist with the Chicago Zoological Society's Sarasota Dolphin Research Program. And we're actually the world's longest running study of a wild dolphin population. My colleagues and I have been studying dolphins in Sarasota Bay for over 50 years now. I haven't been there the whole time, but I do know quite a bit about dolphins. My area of expertise is in dolphin behavior and human impacts. And so I actually went to school and studied animal behavior, focusing on the behavior and conservation of wild animals. And this is really interdisciplinary and collaborative work. So I work with a number of people all around the world to help us understand dolphin biology, behavior, and communication.
That's amazing. All right, I guess you could say that I'm dolphinately impressed now. But I'd love to hear what it's like for a dolphin scientist. What does an average day look like for you? Do you work out in the field? Do you get to use all this fun, fancy technology? Tell us a little bit more about what an average day looks like.
Yeah, well, these days, most of my days are spent sitting in front of the computer, crunching data and numbers, working on coordinating our training programs for students who are coming here to learn, and also working with our colleagues to develop new research projects. But the best days and the days I still love most of all are the days in the field. So I do get to spend quite a bit of time out on boats. I do two primary things with our research program. So one is I work as part of our long-term dolphin monitoring program. We do photographic identification of dolphins, so we can identify them by not only their names, which I'll show you in a minute, but also by the patterns of nicks and notches on their dorsal fins. So for anybody who watched yesterday's episode with Jimena, how she could identify spotted eagle rays from their spot patterns, well, we can do the exact same thing with dolphins and their dorsal fins. And so we spend a lot of time out on boats, taking pictures of dolphins and tracking individual dolphins throughout their whole lives. The other part of my job is to then take the information we know about those individuals from those surveys and to look more closely at their behavior. So my favorite thing that I get to do is to spend time out on boats tracking individual dolphins, watching them to see what they do, where they're going, who they're interacting with, and also, working with collaborators to use new technology to not only watch what they're doing, but hear what they're doing as well and how they're talking to one another underwater.
So, Katie, what are these dolphins saying to one another?
Well, they say a lot of different things. So dolphins and other marine mammals use sound for just about everything that they do. So underwater, that world is really a sound intense world. It's like a symphony underwater. Sound travels a lot farther than light, and animals can hear each other a lot farther than they can see each other. So they use sound to communicate, they use sound to navigate, to hunt, to coordinate behavior, to do just about anything. Do you want to hear what some of their sounds sound like?
Oh, I think we would love that.
All right,
Absolutely, please.
let me share a little bit of them with you. Just a second. Here we go. Can you guys see that?
Yes, we can.
So this slide and the next one are both going to be a little bit similar. What you're seeing on the screen are spectrograms. So these are graphs of basically sound over time. On the y-axis, this is the pitch or the frequency from low to high. And on the x-axis, this is time. The color is how intense the sound is. So these first few sounds are not really your typical dolphin names, like I'll get to in a minute. These are other sounds they make to do important things when they go about their daily lives. So the first is echolocation. They use these clicks in order to navigate around their environment and to hunt and catch prey. So listen in. Hear how those clicks got closer and closer together in the middle? That's what we call an echolocation buzz. And usually that's when they're focusing on an object, like you might use sonar. That's exactly what this does. It helps them see through their environment, actually see with sound. The next one is called a burst pulse sound. And this is a super high energy vocalization that dolphins make usually when they're engaged in really intense social interactions. That one's pretty cool. That's one of my favorites. And the last one here is called a quack. This is another type of vocalization that animals use usually in social interactions. So like sometimes males will use them when they're competing with each other. See if I can get this one to play as well. It doesn't sound like what you might think of as a dolphin. Yeah, pretty funny, huh? Those sounds are some of the really wide repertoire of sounds that dolphins make when they're going about their daily lives. But here are the ones that Ross is probably really going to want to know about. This is the whistles, the signature whistles. So one thing that's really cool that we discovered in Sarasota Bay, our colleague Layla Sayegh from Woods Hole Oceanographic Institute actually discovered this, is that dolphins have what are called signature whistles. These are their names. So these are whistles that the dolphins make. They're individually distinctive, so no one is exactly like any other one. And they actually use them to refer to each other and to maintain contact as their groups join and split apart. So they actually can call to each other with their names. Each one's different, and you don't have to take my word for it. You can listen for yourself. So here's an example of 4 different individuals, and see if you can track how that sound is changing while you watch the contour on the spectrogram. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So what do you think? Did those sound different to you?
They sounded different to me. So when the dolphins are calling, are they calling their own name? Are they calling each other's names, or a little bit of both?
They can do a little bit of both. So we hear them make these signature whistles frequently when they're separated or when groups are splitting and joining. So they can call to each other using their own name to say, hey, I'm here. But they can also call and copy another dolphin's whistle, just like we might call someone's name and say, hey, Ross, where are you?
And can the dolphins easily hear one another in the water environment?
Well, like I said, sound travels pretty far underwater, but dolphins aren't the only things down there. So sometimes it can be a little bit hard for them to hear if there are other sounds in their environment. So one thing that they can sometimes have trouble with is if things like boats or other anthropogenic or human-made noises are in the marine environment, it can make it difficult for them to hear each other. So let me show you an example of that as well. See if I can get back to this one. I have to skip one slide here for you. All right, so here is going to be an example. This is still a spectrogram, so you can see the sound energy over time. These are whistles that are recorded from dolphins using this really cool technology called a D-tag. It's a suction cup tag that we can attach to the dolphins' backs. It'll stay on them for about a day and record all the sounds they make and their movements. And you'll see here these repeated bands. These are the signature whistles of the dolphins. Then you're going to hear a boat as it approaches and passes the dolphins by. And think about how much harder it is to hear those whistles as the boat goes by.
Wow, that's so loud.
Yeah, I don't know about you, but that's pretty loud to me. And what we found in Sarasota Bay from observing the animals and cataloging when boats are going by is that a boat will pass within 100 meters of a dolphin every 6 minutes on average. So they hear that boat go by all day long, and that can make it hard for them to hear each other or to hear the fish that they're trying to catch.
Well, we're already getting questions in our chat, Katie, and one great question that came in was, how do you know that the echolocation bursts are correlating to echolocation and not some other behavior? Do you have methods that you use so you can track not only the behavior but the sound together?
Yes, we do. And I have a video to show you in a second.
Oh, excellent.
So one of the ways we can do that is by actually listening into the sounds they're making while watching what behaviors they're doing. And so we're working with partners to use those cool tags I showed you that stick to the backs of the dolphins, and also use visual observations, so just watching the animals, and also overhead observations from a drone to be able to watch their behavior and listen in at the same time. So this one's a little bit quieter than the other sounds, but hopefully you'll be able to also see and hear while this dolphin is being tracked. So can you guys see the video?
It is loading. Everyone listen real closely.
Really closely. I'm going to be quiet for a second, but what you're going to see is 2 dolphins that are foraging, and the sounds are from the tag on this dolphin right here. So there was a buzz, and what she's buzzing on is this little school of fish right here, and she tries to kick one of them with her flukes. That's a behavior we call fish whacking when they're trying to feed. That loud sound was her breathing from the tag. And then she's going to come over here, buzz again, and that time she makes contact. The fish goes flying, and then listen again. Makes kind of a squealing buzz as she goes on over there and actually catches the fish.
That is so cool, Katie. This is so neat to see an aerial image of these dolphins doing natural dolphin things. So can you like monitor the dolphins by the noises as they make, or like throughout the environment, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we do that in a couple of different ways. I mentioned those tags that we put on the backs of the dolphins. We also do a lot of following them around on boats and recording sounds with a hydrophone underwater while the animals are making sounds in their environment. More recently, we've started doing broader scale observations of sound in the marine environment by putting a network of what we call PALs, or passive acoustic listening stations, all around the bay. Would you like to see what those look like?
I'd love to. Yeah, let's see it.
See if I can get you this one. All right, so here, there's no sound with these ones, unfortunately, but here is one of our cool new collaborations that we're doing with a bunch of people, including the folks at Loggerhead Instruments who designed this system. So what we have here is a small station. So it is powered by either a solar panel or by shore power. It has a battery and a solar charge controller, an antenna, and a cell modem to connect to the cell phone network. And then it also has memory cards and a little onboard circuit board and processor that can actually detect dolphin whistles for us. These whole thing is in a weatherproof box, and we can put it on shore and then run a cable all the way out into the water with a hydrophone or an underwater microphone that lets us listen in to the sounds in the bay. We've been working, let me see if I can get this to move forward. So we work with partners. This isn't something we can do by ourselves. So we work with people who are willing to host these sites all up and down the coast. And we now have a network of 10 of these PALs recording stations throughout our study area in Sarasota Bay. And with this, here's a dolphin right in front of one of our stations, the very first one we put up at a private homeowner on Longboat Key. We're able to study lots of different things. So we can look at acoustic ecology. This is basically what the soundscape, what the underwater sound environment is like, and how dolphins and other animals like fish and snapping shrimp and other things that make sound are being able to be heard underneath the water in the bay. We also, of course, for our project are trying to look at dolphin detection, right? Do we hear dolphins as they go by? And maybe do we even hear specific individual dolphins? And then we're tracking things like man-made sound, all that boat noise that we can hear in the environment.
That's so cool, Katie. That's kind of like you're letting the technology kind of monitor individual dolphins across the bay for you, in addition to obviously going out and doing your photo ID surveys, right?
Yeah, we are. And we've actually been able to identify a few individuals this way. So I'm going to skip one slide and just show you, show you this one. So this is working with a student in data science at New College of Florida, and he was able to use sort of advanced machine learning and neural network processing. These are fancy computer science, computer programming terms that are even above my head here, to actually not only detect dolphin whistles against background noise, but also classify them into similar types. So he was able to figure out what the most frequently heard whistles were at one of our stations. And it was these 3 whistles you can see on the screen. And then we were able to compare them to our visual records at the site, and then match them to our long-term signature whistle catalog and figure out that it was these 3 dolphins he was hearing at the site. So this is a mom and 2 of her calves, an older and younger calf, that were being seen at this site, and we're able to track them now with sound. So we hope we're going to be able to do this all throughout the network and with all of our dolphins sometime in the future.
This is absolutely amazing, Katie, and I am becoming aware of the time. So we're going to get to our viewer questions shortly, but before we do that, so is there hope that the PAL station can aid in dolphin conservation moving forward, or has it already?
Yeah, so it's already been super helpful. Our first couple stations were able to help us track changes in biological sound with a harmful algal bloom, a red tide that came through and impacted a whole bunch of species, including a lot of important dolphin prey. We were able to detect the changes in that soundscape in real time. And we're also using it, like I said, to hopefully track individual dolphins and be able to see how they're moving around our study area, and also in relation to things like changes in boat traffic. So we have a student right now that's starting to look at changes in sound relative to the COVID-19 lockdown and whether people were using or not the coastal environment on their boats as much.
And one last question before we turn it over to our viewers. So let's say there are students out there who are really interested in this career path, but may not want to be a biologist. Is there other activities or careers that they could get into that still lets them be part of the science that's happening, but not necessarily be the biologist?
Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, I already said this, but we work with tons of collaborators who have all different areas of expertise in our work. So I'm a biologist, I'm into animal behavior and conservation, but we work really closely with engineers who help us develop the technology to actually record their sounds and their behavior, the folks operating the drones. We also work with data scientists and computer programmers that help us develop those analytical tools that we need to be able to detect the dolphins and to actually visualize their sounds and things like that. And if you don't care about animals at all, but you're really into sound and waves, there's all sorts of careers you can do. Things like oceanographers who study internal waves in the ocean, electrical and sound engineers who work with, performing arts venues or with the music and the TV and film industry. There's lots of options for folks out there.
So everyone out there, keep interested in STEM because the world is yours. Ross, I think you're monitoring our chat, right? Are there some questions coming through?
Yes, absolutely. Well, Katie, that was so amazing. I definitely learned a lot, and it's really awesome that we have so many questions coming in the chat as well. So I guess you could say we have a lot of pals out there too that want to participate in your dolphin science. Now, speaking of pals and all the tracking and tagging technology that's going on, one of the first questions that we had is you mentioned that there's these suction cup-like trackers and taggers. So we have a few questions in the chat about how do you find them once they pop off and how do you get them on in the first place? We're assuming that a dolphin just doesn't wait around for you to put a suction cup on it.
Yeah, those are great questions. So in Sarasota Bay, one of the things that we do with a number of our collaborators is we have a research permit that lets us do hands-on physical exams on the dolphins every so often. So we do periodically, we do a capture release program where we get our hands on the animals, they get a physical, and they get to go back on and live their lives. That's a great chance for us and the behavior side of things to stick that tag right to the back of the dolphins before they're released, and then we can follow them away and watch what they're doing. Luckily, yeah, I mean, they're attached with suction cups, right? So a dolphin can get that off of it anytime it wants to by jumping and landing on it or just moving around quickly. So we definitely need ways of finding them afterwards. And one of the ways we can do that, if we're not following the dolphin around on a boat at that time, is by listening for a VHF radio frequency. So these tags have an antenna that emits a specific frequency, and we can track and find that tag. It'll float to the surface and we can track and find it at the end.
What a fantastic answer. Now, we have another great question that came in about, now that we're understanding that there's echolocation and that dolphins have names for each other, we have a great question about, are we recognizing different words that dolphins say? Like, is there a certain word for a fish or a hunting behavior? Or now that we're learning the tools and the names, what capacity do dolphins have a language?
That's also a fantastic question. And it's one that we are still just at the beginning of trying to understand. So dolphins make lots of sounds other than their signature whistle and lots of other kinds of whistles, even ones that they share with their buddies. So we're starting to try to track and figure that out. And being able to have technology like these tags that let us listen in on what they're saying while we're watching them behave, in a free-ranging environment and do what they do really helps put those pieces together. So we're still learning. We don't know it all yet.
Well, I would say that we're going to wish you best of luck with those endeavors in the future. Now, I do see that we're almost out of time. However, we have one great question that just came in for people that want to know a little bit more about dolphins. So you mentioned that a mom hangs out and stays with her calves, right? So, and you also mentioned that the Sarasota Dolphin Research Program is the longest running continual dolphin study ever, which is the coolest thing that you're a part of that. So can you tell us a little bit more about some of the generational differences that you've noticed? That how long does a dolphin live? How long does a calf stay with its mom? And are you able to see a dolphin family tree?
So yeah, another amazing question. Yes, we are. So we have been studying dolphins here, like I said, for now 50 years. And our oldest dolphin that we've ever known was a lovely lady named Nicklo, was our name for her. And she lived to be 67 years old. So these dolphins are living for decades in our coastal environment. And we've had animals up to 5 concurrent generations. And we've now observed our 6th generation of dolphins all living in the same area. So we've learned, at least along the coast, that these animals are resident animals over multiple generations and multiple decades. So they're here for a long time, and they give birth to their calves, and their calves tend to stay here. So the calves stay with their moms for a few years, not quite as long as we stay with our parents, but they stay for about 3 to 6 years on average before they go off and sort of navigate life on their own.
That is an amazing answer. That is so cool to see that these family units, they stay together. What a heartwarming story. I love that. Now, I do see that we still have a lot of questions still rolling in. Unfortunately, we are almost out of time, which is such a bummer. However, we'd love to have you ask our questions on our Flipgrid website. Now, Flipgrid is an awesome website that we've partnered with where you can leave us a free video question and we will respond with a personalized video answer. So it's kind of like a video voicemail service, and it allows you to stay in touch with our scientists. So Krystan, what do we like to call our Flipgrid page?
We want you to consider us your STEM pen pals.
Fantastic, or fantastic. Now, we also have a lot of other amazing resources on our Flipgrid as well. Not only is it a great way to stay in touch with our amazing scientists and guest experts, but it's also a great way to test your science at home. Now, Katie does some fantastic work on monitoring all of these sounds and acoustic environments, which is the coolest thing. But you might be wondering, how in the world do I get to do that at home? Well, believe it or not, we have set up the tools for you to do so. So we're going to be joined by our amazing Mote Marine Laboratory intern, Allie, and she's going to walk you through what you can do at home to be just like Katie and a scientist that listens to sounds. Now, on this activity worksheet that you can download from our Flipgrid webpage, there are 3 different activities within this just one activity. Your first activity is to participate and actually measure and sync up different dolphin calls with the individuals. So you are literally going to be doing Katie's job. We gave you some amazing dolphin audio cues, and your job is to see if you can match and pair to see if you are able to tell these individual dolphin signature whistles or their names apart. Now, the second activity that you can do, part of this activity at home, is you can go to the Making Sound Waves website. Now, when you go to this website, you can make your own signature whistle. Now, after you've done that, we challenge you to play some music in the background, kind of like what those boat noises sound like underwater. And then try playing your signature whistle again and see how much harder it is to listen to your call when there's music in the background. And then you can understand that that's how challenging it is for a dolphin to hear each other when they're underwater, when there's all this noise pollution or all this other background noise from boats or other sounds. Now, while we have you, we would love for you to participate in that survey that we mentioned at the very beginning of today's program. So we want to keep providing you some amazing virtual learning programs down the road, and we want to hear from you. What was your favorite part about today's program? What did you learn? And what would you like to see as a future program? We promise this survey will only take 5 minutes. So while we got you right now, make sure that you will fill out this survey and give us some feedback. Now, I'm going to turn it back over to Krystan to wish us goodbye, and we had so much fun with all of you. So thank you so much for joining us today.
And thank you, Katie, for teaching us all about dolphin communication. And be sure to check in on our next episode where we learn about toxins and bioaccumulation. And to keep track of what Ross and I are up to, check out sarasotadolphin.org and mote.org. Until next time, see y'all later.
Bye, everyone.